A group of friends went deer hunting and paired off in twos for the day. That night, one of the hunters returned alone, staggering under the weight of an 8-point buck. The others were surprised and asked him, "Where's Joe?" "Joe fell and broke his leg. He's a couple of miles back up the trail," the successful hunter replied. The other hunters were even more surprised at this and asked him, "You left Joe laying out there and carried the deer back?" The hunter nodded and said, "It was a tough call. But I figured no one is going to steal Joe." A couple weeks ago, I used a cuss word. And Jay Inman, I'm getting to it. He gave me a damn it doll. Whenever things don't go so well and you want to hit the wall and yell, here's a little damn doll that you can't do without. So there you go. That's a lot of advantages to the pastor who admits that he sometimes has a problem. I chose that joke partly because one of my favorite times of year is hunting elk in the fall, because I'm up in the Aspen, in the area of the flat tops where we hunt. Usually the second weekend of October is stunningly beautiful. And I opened my book on chapter 20 talking about the beauty of seeing the aspen leaves fall. It's like a golden snowstorm. It's poetry in motion. And I want to talk about being a warrior poet today. And one of my favorite poems by Robert Frost, who's my favorite poet. I have many. William Wordsworth I love a lot. And there's others, but Robert Frost would probably be my favorite because he lived in New England and he often talked about the outdoors. And in this quick little poem, he talks about October. "O hushed October, morning mild, thy leaves have ripened to the fall. Tomorrow's wind, if it be wild, should waste them all. The crows above the forest call, tomorrow they may form and go. O hushed October, morning mild, begin the hours of the day slow. Make the day seem to us less brief, hearts not averse to being beguiled. Beguile us in the way you know." So God beguiles us with His beauty and His creativity and His briefness. There's something about nature that's always brief. You have moments where you see things and you feel things and then it's gone. And that's why I've always encouraged you men to be outdoors, to get outdoors. It's not only good for you with the vitamin D that you get, but it's good for your soul. And we've been very cityfied in our suburban homes and suburban lifestyle, which is built around busyness. And it's built around fretting over the next scheduled thing that we have to do. And I quote from my book, "Our culture wants to shut our hearts down, to keep us quiet, to shut out the poetry of our souls, to push us into isolation and a secret life devoid of God. And so we lose the heroic, the inspiring, the epic, the poetic." Thoreau, writing from a cabin in the New England woods, said, "The mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. What is called resignation is confirmed desperation. From the desperate city you go. The desperation is the loss of our masculine hearts. The worshiper warrior comes to a compressed, economized, scaled down culture that is longing for something more. The worshiper is one who brings praise to the analytical, prayers to the hopeless, and invites us to the rapture of loving God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And so you guys come here on Tuesday mornings, and it's always our prayer and hope, we on the leadership team, that we touch something in your heart that's not getting touched anywhere else. So I give a different kind of message to you men than I would say on a Sunday at the road. I give a different kind of message because there's very few brief times in our life where we're actually challenged to something epic, something heroic, and something beautiful, because that's not the words for the man, for the masculine heart in our culture today. And yet it's vital. It's vital to your life. Let me give you what I think are 3 ways that the fast-paced, industrialized, compressed world steals your heart. Jot these down. These are things to remember. I think it's what we hear on the radio. It's what we experience throughout the day. And I think it's good to have a filter by which you can have perspective. I guess that's what I'm doing right now, is giving us perspective to what our culture does to us. Number 1, we are reduced to our production. The fast-paced, industrialized, compressed world steals your heart and reduces you to just production. How much money you can make and how efficient you are. Not necessarily how effective you are, but how efficient you are. Number 2, we're reduced to being machines. The levers and buttons of a faster and faster run world. The advent of AI is proof of this, that many of you and your jobs will be replaced in the next 10 years because of AI, because you're just a machine. And you become a cog in the machinery of the culture, and if there's a faster, more efficient, more money-making way to replace you, the culture will do that. Number 3, we're reduced to being consumers. That's the way all those infomercials and commercials that you see, that's the way they view you, is you're simply a consumer. So if you listen to classical music on YouTube, then when you go to YouTube, it's set now to give you all the different masters of classical music. If you're a 70s rock and roll listener, it will set itself for that, because you're just a consumer. We're the ones who buy the cars, the trucks, and the computers. We're little more than the consumer so that the machinery of our systems can continue to profit. That's what COVID was all about. The COVID, quote-unquote, epidemic, which I would call it the COVID scare, was not about getting us healthy and protecting us. It was about making money and control and power. But men, God has called you to be a warrior poet. You're His beloved, made a little lower than the angels, to be His warrior poets that embody the Son of God on earth. The creativity and the beauty that you see in nature is prophetic of you. To such a greater degree, created in the image of God, you see something beautiful and you see a stream, or you catch a trout and you look at the speckles on that brown trout and you're just amazed at the beauty of that. You're more beautiful than that. You are created above all of that. We are created in all of the beauty of being image carriers of God. We love, we laugh, we forgive, and we help others. We weep, we dance, we sympathize, and we have compassion. No other created thing on the face of the earth is like the human soul, like the human being. You are a walking poet. You're a walking warrior poet. And I love the forest and the mountains and the streams because nature echoes the poems of life. Nature is prophetic of God's handiwork and craftsmanship in all of our lives. A thunderstorm, the changing seasons, a hot sunny day. Many of you have slept at night in the wilderness like I have, and the sounds that you hear. The screech of a wounded rabbit as the fox moves in. You hear that at night, those last cries of that rabbit. The hoot of an owl. The howl of the coyotes. The woods are wild. You're wild. You're created by God to be epic. You're created by God to be creative. You're more than a machine. You're more than a consumer. You're a producer. A producer that comes forth with the poet, warrior-like character of God that's in you. The scriptures say God is a warrior. And if we're created in the image of God, he says to each of you, you're a warrior. A warrior poet. So I want to close with one of my favorite poems. You guys have heard different poems from time to time. But this is called The Character of a Happy Warrior by William Wordsworth. And what I'd like you to do is close your eyes because it's hard to hear a poem and not be able to read it. And I didn't want to put all of this. Is a really long poem and I've cut out parts of it. So this is the essence of the poem. But close your eyes and just try to listen to the words as maybe kind of like listening to the wind. Listening to the wind of your soul. Some of these lines will speak to you, some of them will not. But it's the character, this is what I want you to remember, it's the character of a happy warrior. He's talking about your heart. He's talking about who you are. Who is the happy warrior? Who is he that every man in arms should wish to be? It is the generous spirit who, when brought among the task of real life, hath wrought upon the plan that pleased his boyish thought, whose high endeavors are an inward light that makes the path before him always bright, who with a natural instinct to discern what knowledge can perform is diligent to learn, abides by this resolve and stops not there, but makes his moral being his prime care, who doomed to go in company with pain and fear and bloodshed and miserable train, turns his necessity to glorious gain. In face of these doth exercise a power, which is our human nature's highest dower, controls them and subdues them, transmutes, bereaves of their bad influence, and their good receives. By objects which might force the soul to abate, her feeling rendered more compassionate is placable, because occasions rise so often that demand such sacrifice. More skillful in self-knowledge, even more pure, as tempted more able to endure. As more exposed to suffering and distress, hence also more alive to tenderness. 'Tis he whose law is reason, who depends upon that law as on the best of friends. Whence in a state where men are tempted still, to evil for a guard against worse ill, and what in quality or act is best, doth seldom on a firm foundation rest, his labors good on good to fix, and owes to virtue every triumph that he knows. Who, if he rise to station of command, rises by open means, and there will stand, of honorable terms, or else retire. and in himself possess his own desire, who comprehends his trust, and to the same keeps faithful with a singleness of aim. A constant influence, a peculiar grace, but who, if he be called upon to face some awful moment to which heaven has joined great issues, good or bad, for humankind, is happy as a lover and attired with sudden brightness like a man inspired, and through the heat of conflict keeps the law, in calmness made, and sees what he foresaw. He, though thus endued as with a sense and faculty for storm and turbulence, is yet a soul whose master bias leans to home-felt pleasures and to gentle scenes, sweet images, which, wheresoever he be, are at his heart with such fidelity. It is his darling passion to approve, more brave for this, that he hath much to love. 'Tis finally the man who lifted high, conspicuous object in a nation's eye, or left unthought of in obscurity, who with a toward or untoward lot, prosperous or adverse, to wish or not, plays in the many games of life, that one where what he doth value must be won, whom neither shape or danger can dismay, nor thought of tender happiness betray, who not content to former worth stand fast, looks forward persevering to the last, from well to better daily surpassed, who whether praise of him must walk the earth forever and to noble deeds give birth, or he must fall to sleep without his fame and leave a dead, unprofitable name, finds comfort in himself and in his cause, and while the mortal mist is gathering, draws his breath in confidence of heaven's applause. This is the happy warrior. This is he that every man in arms should wish to be. So men, the point of the poem is take care of your heart. Watch over your character. Be a man who, when you go through difficulties, and you will, when you experience shame, and you have and you will, make the soul, make the character, make the heart of you the kind of man that gets heaven's applause. You may never get it on earth. Probably you won't get it on earth. But as you carry that, you're happy. You'll be happy. The kingdom of God makes us happy. It's an inward joy that relates to an outward happiness. And the inward joy is what actually changes your circumstances. Isn't that amazing to think about? That you can change your circumstances by the way in which you respond to your circumstances. You can take what the devil meant to destroy you, and you can turn it around, and it can build into you the kind of man that the next time that happens, you're more victorious. The next time that happens, you're a little bit of a step of the way because you know it's warfare. And God is creating a warrior poet. So I have a bunch of questions for your table, 5 questions. Feel free to just choose the ones you want to choose because there's so many. But I just took the ones that were in the workbook that we have. So God bless you guys.
So all the core and section leaders, if you want to get up and follow me, we're going to head in the rooms across there. All you first-timers, if you want to get up, you're going to be going in the room in the library. So Chris Taylor, raise your hand. See the guy waving his hand there? You guys follow him, okay?